Okay, welcome friends. Today's topic is biggest edge with auction properties. So let's just dive into it. Why is it important for you to understand auctions and when do the auction occur? For that to happen, you need to understand the pre-foreclosure, the foreclosure process. So we're just gonna go over that very quickly so that you have a great idea of what this is all about. So the piece that we're gonna be focusing on is two pieces right here where you go to the judicial auction, okay? And then when the banks take over the property and that becomes an REO, then they send the property to the auctioning platform. So we're gonna be talking about these two different types of auctions. So let's start with the pre-foreclosure or foreclosure process in Illinois. Illinois happens to be a judicial state, which means that banks need to go through the court system before they can take over the property from the owner. Okay, so what is the foreclosure process? So we're going to start with the owner missing a payment, and then 30, 60, 90 days go by, and then if the owner doesn't come current with the loan, guess what's going to happen? We move to the second box. So the bank is going to file a lawsuit against the owner. It's what's called the lien pendant. At that point, the owner is officially in the pre-foreclosure process. And guess what? We are going to notify you when that happens. In ChicagoDealVault, we have the pre-foreclosures, which I will quickly just toggle back and forth between the presentation and DealVault so that you understand what this is, what's happening here. So pre-foreclosures right here. So these people, I'm just going to randomly click on one of them. What's happening here is that in this case, the filing date, look at this. This individual, this happens to be in Streamwood, just went in pre-foreclosure. So the filing date, this is when the bank filed for pre-foreclosure. That was about a month ago. Okay, so Nick is just went into pre-foreclosure not too long ago. But now let's look at this. And in fact, guys, now that I look at this, this is a great deal, by the way. It depends on how much rehab the property needs, but look at this. So he owes to the bank let's say 70,000, but the property is worth over 200,000, like 230 or so. So he's got about 60,000 in equity. But let me show you. So the last payment that he made was back in September last year. So as you can see, do the math. September till January. So the bank waited about 4 months before the bank filed a lawsuit in the court system and put Nick, in the foreclosure process. Okay. So at this point, the bank is Wells Fargo. And then Wells Fargo is using this attorney to do all the filings in the court system. So at this point, he's got a little bit of equity. He's got between 44,000 to 66,000. So now at this point, if we wanted to pursue this deal, I'm going to tell you in ChicagoDealVault, we're going to tell you how much you need to make an offer for. The problem here is that he owes 169, but if you want to make money in this property doing a flip, you shouldn't offer more than 133. If it's a rental, 155. So as you can see, the numbers do not make sense in this deal, okay? Because the most we should offer for this property is about 155,000 if we keep it for a rental, assuming we're still going to put in some money into the property, 20 to 30,000. So it's not going to work because when you make an offer, you need to make an offer that will satisfy the debt. In this case, our max offer will not even come close to what's owed on the property. So this is not a good deal. So at this point, what we need to focus on, look at the secret number one, high equity deals. So what does that mean? High equity means that the owner owes very little, but yet the property is worth a lot. So having said that, let's just go back to the screen. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a quick filter. So in fact, let me do this. I'm going to type in Streamwood. Let me see if there are any deals in Streamwood. with a lot of equity, with over 50% equity. Okay, there are indeed 28 awesome deals in Streamwood that are in pre-foreclosure. So let's quickly take a look at these. I'm gonna just click on the first one to show you why this is a great deal. So the bank took the owner into pre-foreclosure back in November last year. But now let's look at the numbers. Why is this an awesome deal? Because the balance due is 95, but the property is worth 250,000 to 285,000. Therefore, the owner has a lot of equity. Does that make sense? So check this out. The most we should pay for the property if we do a flip or a rental should be, for a flip, 144, 171, and this max offer is way over what's owed on the property. So if you think about these guys, even if we make the lowest offer, which is the wholesale offer, this 130,000 is gonna pay off for the outstanding balance. And on top of that, we can give the owner, Elizabeth, about a 30,000 relocation package. So that 20,000 is gonna help the existing owners to settle somewhere else. So they're gonna pay for down payment or first month's rent, security deposit for a new place, moving expenses, and maybe storage expenses. Okay, so this is a great deal, and that's the secret of pre-foreclosures. So one of the questions is that balance due including missed payments? So let me show you this. That's a great question. So the last payment was made, whoa, long time ago, back in 2014. But date of calculation, so this was last computed back in November, end of November, beginning of December. So typically, you're gonna need to add about 5 to 10% to this amount because of late fees, penalties. So we're gonna need to add about 5 to 10,000 on top of this. But if you think about it, we still have enough meat in the bone. Even if we make a 130,000 offer, we're gonna pay off outstanding balance, latent fees, and the owner still gets to keep about 20,000 or so. So this is a great deal. So it is that simple how we can find amazing deals. So we found 28 pretty much home run deals, guys, in Streamwood. And let me tell you something, Streamwood happens to be the number 5th market when it comes to rents. So if you want to do rentals, Streamwood is the 5th strongest market, okay, to invest. So these are just awesome deals. And then I can just pick randomly another property in Streamwood, and look, they owe 108, but the property is worth over 200,000. The most we should offer is 126. You see the difference? So these are all gonna be awesome deals. These went into pre-foreclosure back in March last year. So guys, in just less than a minute, we found 28 home run deals, okay? So if we wanted to pursue these deals, all we need to do is reach out to the owners. Boom, you hover over the name, and then we give you their phone number. So the way to do this is you call them and say, hey, Christopher, I realized, well, this is how you do it. You call them and say, hey, Christopher, I'm a real estate investor. We're currently buying properties in Streamwood, and I just realized that your property is in foreclosure. I can help you make it go away. Is that okay if I can meet you tomorrow? I'm available either in the morning or afternoon. What works best for you? Does that make sense? So the objective is to make an appointment, build rapport, see the property from the inside, and make them an offer. So it is that simple, friends. So that is pre-foreclosure. And then what happens next? So time goes by, and then we're looking at 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. If the owner has still not come current with the loan, guess what's going to happen? At this point, the judge is going to issue what's called the notice of trustee sale. In other words, the judge is going to say, okay, it's been long enough, you've not paid the mortgage, therefore we're going to auction off your property. So the judge is going to say, we're going to auction off your property in 2 or 3 months from today. So guess what, guys? We're going to notify you of those upcoming auctions. And that is extremely, extremely powerful. Why? Because those owners are going to be so motivated to take action, because otherwise they're going to lose their home, they're going to lose their equity, and they're going to ruin their credit. So let's just find some awesome deals the same way. So at this point, upcoming auctions, this is the lead pipe where I'm just going to filter by, let's say by Cook, by county, and I just want the awesome deals over 50% equity. I'm going to use another filter. I want to know the properties that are going to go to the judicial auction a month from today. So actually I'm going to say towards the end of March, because guys, you're going to need about 3 to 4 weeks to close on the property, at least 3 weeks. Therefore, you cannot pursue properties that are going to go to auction like next week. You need time for funding, okay? So give me all the deals that are going to go to the judicial auction between the end of March and sometime in the summer, let's say beginning of June, okay? And that have a lot of equity. That's it. So I'm gonna search and boom, 48 deals. So let me just click on one of them. Matson. This is in Matson. Why is this an awesome deal? This property is going to go for auction in about a month and a half. Okay, now check this out. The owner owes $67,000. Oh, but let me see. This is what type of property is this? Single family home. Okay, so the owner only owes $67,000. I'm trying to see what type of 67,000. Let me give you another example because I want to know what the ARV on this property. I can pull the ARV, so let me just run the comps right now. All you need to do is scroll down, hit on search, and then we're gonna get an idea of what this property is worth. Okay, so 3 bedroom, 2 bath that sold in the last 6 months is worth. We're looking at between 170. I'm looking at the last column, close priced, 170 to 200. So as you can imagine, they only owe 67. So there's about 100,000 in equity on this deal. So the owner is going to lose it in a month and a half if they don't do anything. So we're going to give you the contact information because at this point, these individuals are going to be extremely motivated to take action, okay? Because if they don't take action, guess what's going to happen? They're going to lose it. Orland Park. Orland Park is a great area, so let me pull that up to show you. Okay, so this property is going to go for auction in first week of April. But again, they owe 132, and this property is worth, look at this, 350,000. So they have over 200,000 in equity. So they're going to lose pretty much everything unless they take action. So if they don't come current with the loan, guess what? They're losing the entire thing. But this is a pretty big property, 4 bedroom, 2.5 baths. So guys, in this case, what we need to do is we need to make an offer. And look at this. The most we should offer is like close to 200,000, but yet they only owe 132,000. Do you see these? Do you see the power of these? So here, boom, just click on the name and we give you their owner's phone number, everything, okay? So in this case, he used to live in Springfield. Now he lives obviously in Orland Park. So this is the phone number of Gerald. So guys, if we get this property on the contract for, let's say 160,000, we're paying like 40 cents on the dollar. Okay, so you can easily make 150,000 if we get this property on the contract. So the way to do it is, hey, Gerald, I'm a real estate investor investing in Orland Park. I noticed that your property is going to the judicial auction first week of April. I can help you make it go away. Can we meet tomorrow morning or afternoon? So when we meet with him, we know the most we can offer, right? 198. So we're gonna click on make offer and then bring this already pre-filled 2-page contract, non-invasive, non-intrusive, to the owner. And remember, the most we should pay is $198. Hopefully, the less obviously we pay, the more we're gonna be making. That's it. So all we need to have is Gerald sign the agreement. If you get Gerald to sign this document, guys, you're guaranteed at least 100,000. It is that simple. So that's the upcoming auctions. All of these upcoming auctions right here, all of these properties, over 48, are going to go to the judicial auction very, very soon. So now what happens at the auction? So as you can see, the example that I give you, you can buy this deal that is worth ARV 150. You can buy 50 cents on the dollar when you intercept the property, either at the pre-foreclosure stage or at the upcoming auction stage, okay? And again, this is my favorite lead pipe because they're gonna be extremely motivated to sell the property. Otherwise, they're gonna lose everything. So now, guys, what happens if we don't do anything and we don't help these individuals not to lose their property? So the property is going to go to the judicial auction right here. The problem here is that you never want to buy a property in this stage at the judicial auction at the courthouse. The reason why is, actually, there are 3 reasons. Number 1, you need to pay cash for it within 24 hours. You buy sight unseen and you are competing against other investors. So obviously you're gonna end up overpaying for the property. As you can see, if you intercept the property before it goes to the judicial auction, you're gonna be paying 50 cents on the dollar. Whereas if you buy it at the judicial auction, which is very risky, plus the assumption is that you need to have the cash, right? So the beauty of intercepting the property before it goes to the judicial auction is that you can finance the deal, so you have no competition. You can use a hard money lender, private money lender to fund the deal, and you get to see the property from the inside. So obviously you're not going to overpay for the property when you intercept the property in these 2 stages, at the pre-foreclosure or the upcoming auction. Now, let's move forward. If, let's assume nobody bought the property, okay, at the judicial auction, what's going to happen? If nobody buys the property, then it's going to become shadow inventory or banked on property. At that point, you can buy it directly from the bank. So we give it to you right here, banked on properties. So I can find, even with a lot of equity, let's say now in DuPage, give me all the REOs with a lot of equity. So let me just pick, these are Darners Grove, I mean, Hinsdale, these are all great areas. So let me just give you an example. This went for auction back in October last year, and the bank took possession of this property. Look how much equity there is in this deal. The balance due was $300,000 and the property was worth over $1 million. Can you believe that? This is insane. So the owner, Thomas, lost the property to the judicial auction. So imagine if we had made an offer of, look, well, these numbers are just incredibly high, but if we had paid even $400,000, give the owner about $70,000, we would end up with a property that is worth over $1 million. I mean, this is very sad, guys, that this individual lost a $1 million home because he owed only 1/3 of the value. It's incredibly sad. That's where we come into the picture. We help them make an offer and we benefit in the process. So you can buy these properties directly at this point from the bank. The problem is if it's a big bank, as you can see the secret, they're not going to talk to you. Okay, you need to pursue REOs owned by small banks, community banks, because large banks like Chase, Bank of America, they want to move volume, right? They're not in the business of real estate. They're in the business of lending. They're going to dispose of those properties bulk. So they're not going to sell to you, to me, 1 or 2 properties. They want to move all their distress inventory bulk. So what they're going to do is, once it becomes an REO, they're going to get an REO broker to list it in the MLS. And on top of that, they're going to send that property to the auctioning platforms. These are the four main ones: Hubzu.com, Auction.com, Hudson and Marshalls, and Williams and Williams. Okay, guys. So at this point, what you need to understand is that you should not buy the properties at the judicial auction. Too risky. Sight unseen, you need to pay cash, lots of competition. You either intercept it at the upcoming auction 30 to 45 days before, because you can identify them with high equity, you have no competition, you get to see the property from the inside, and then you can finance it. And the same here when they just went into the foreclosure process. The problem here is that people are still going to be in denial, right? So they still believe they're going to be able to come current with the loan, but 99.9% is not the case, right? But they're going to realize until it's kind of late, until probably they're given an ultimatum that the property is going to be auctioned off at the judicial auction, okay? And then the other great place to buy the properties is directly from the bank. So what we've done is we have access to this great bank-owned property inventory. So they've been foreclosed and now they became REOs, because what we can do is we can pull them from the back door. Even if the property is at the auctioning site, not only do we know what the reserve is how much the bank is going to sell it for, but we can also buy it directly from the bank, even if it's at these auctions. So let me give you just a couple of examples. I'm going to pull up this property, 915 South Hearst, Mount Prospect. Okay, so this is a property that we're going to pull out from the auctioning website. So why? Because let me tell you, this property went to the judicial auction back in not too long ago, like that's about a month ago. So now the bank, what the bank did is, again, they don't want the property, so they send these to the auctioning platform. I think it's Zoom. We'll check that in a second. So the bank took the property back for the starting bid, and that ended up being the bid, 159. So we're gonna buy the property actually for that much, 150 for 160. But yet, look at the ARV of the property. It's worth 100,000 on top of it. So we'll have about 100,000 on equity. And then I happen to see the property, actually, let me show you, is this property right here where the car is parked. It's a nice 3-bedroom brick home. And then it's not a 1-bedroom as it says right here. It's actually a 2-bedroom, and it's got a 4th bedroom in the basement. The basement is finished. It's got new furnace, new water heater, and it's got front loader washer and dryer. So very, very nice. It needs very little work, only flooring, painting, upgrading the kitchen and the bathroom, and that's about it. So it's going to be a home run deal when it's all said and done. But the powerful thing is that, let me show you, if we look up this in Google, this property, okay? Actually, I have it right here. Yeah, right here. Let me refresh. It's in Exxon. That's an auctioning platform. So let's see what it says. Okay, so it says that, you know, the auction finished. The final bid was 198. Okay, so it doesn't matter what people bid on the platform. We already have it. Let me see. Oh no, it's not this one. We already have it under contract for 160. So even if people bid in the auctioning platforms, which again is too risky, right? Because you are gonna end up overpaying for the property. So look at this. It says that somebody offered 198. Now let's go back to DealVault. The most you should offer on this property, if you're going to do a wholesale deal, 156, a flip, 169, and a rental. So if you offer like close to 200,000, you can only do a rental, okay? You cannot flip that property. So in other words, you're overpaying for the property. The way you should think about this, even if you do a rental, you should pay the flip price. Why? So that you have that option. If you decide to change your mind, oh, you know what? I don't want to rent it. I want to flip it. You have that exit. You have that option. Okay, so it is so critical, even if you decide to do a rental, to pay the flip price. So guys, you don't need to think, create, do nothing. We give you the ARV, an estimated rehab. So in this case, for this property, the rehab is going to be about 10 to 15,000. So it's going to be very light cosmetic work. Therefore, it's pretty much a home run deal if, you know, when we buy it for 160 plus a consulting fee that we pay to our connection, then it's going to be, we're going to pay 166, which is actually the max offer for the flip. But that's with the assumption that we're going to spend between 18 to 27. So if we spend, let's say, 10,000, then we are getting even a better deal, okay? So I just want to make sure that you understand the difference between the auctioning platform, which is, you know, which is the main websites, and the judicial auction. And then I'm going to give you another example of another property. So let me just do the power search. So this is another property we were able to buy from directly from the bank, 5433 West 23rd place in Cicero. And I think many of you went to this property. Okay, so let me show you this property. So when we do a power search, let me close the other tab so it's not confusing. When we do a power search on an address, we're pulling the MLS listing plus we're pulling the off-market pre-foreclosure record, okay? So when I saw this property, as you can see, I mean, they did all the bells and whistles, okay, back in 2016. So to me, it's like, well, 3 years ago, what's the wear and tear on this property? Not much. And indeed, you know, the property was in incredible condition. The rehab was 12,000 on this property. All it needed was appliance and paint, and that's about it. So let me show you. It went to 2 years later, the owner lost the property. So it went back to the bank for 135, but yet look at the ARV. There's a spread of about 100,000. So we bought it for 135. Okay, we put in about 12,000. So assume all in 150, but yet the property is worth 230 all day long, 225. So we have about 70,000 in equity in this property. And look at this, the owner owed 168. So this is very common, guys. The bank took a big loss because they sold it for 138, 135, but yet the outstanding balance was greater than that. So the bank took a loss. It was their loss, our gain in this case. Okay, so if I look this up, I think this was in auction.com. If I'm not mistaken, let me look it up. So realtor auction.com right here. So, okay, so it's closed. It doesn't offer anything. Property is sold, so obviously we bought it. But I remember people were bidding over 150,000 for this property, 160,000, but it still didn't matter. And something that is really critical is that you see the cash, it says cash, yes. Interior access, no. We ended up funding the deal. Okay, so we didn't pay cash. Obviously, we never pay cash. We always leverage from other people's money. So once we get it on the contract, we know the property is vacant. So to get funding, the bank or the lender needs to have access to the property to do an appraisal. So in this case, the property was vacant. We were able to access the property, let the appraiser in, and then boom, we didn't need to pay only 10%. So it was a home run deal, guys. And then there's another one. Oh, I don't have the address. That we're pulling right now, but I just want you to get the idea, the power. Now, if you want to have access to this inventory, to be able to pull them from the back door, all you need to do is give us your entity documents, your LLC or S Corp, articles of incorporation, operating agreement, and then your line of credit or proof of funds. We need those two pieces of information, and then we're gonna give you a call. We're gonna vet you, okay? Because once you decide to pull a property from the back door, there's no way back, okay? You commit and there's no way back, okay? You cannot wholesale these deals. You need to close on them. You need to follow through. That is why we need to have your entity docs and your proof of funds or line of credit. So we want to make sure that you're able to follow through. If somebody, for whatever reason, backs out, then it gets blacklisted. So they'll never be able to get access to this inventory, which is just incredible, friends, because we're paying 50, 60 cents on the dollar on these deals. And most importantly, they don't need much work, which is huge in real estate, okay? That's how you can grow exponentially when you target properties that don't need much work. Because if you target properties that need a go rehab, you're gonna be spending 6, 9, 12 months doing one deal, whereas we're in and out. So we did the rehab on this property. Let me see, I think the trees are in the middle. Oh no, this is it. Not the frame, but it's the brick, this one, that's the property. So we were in and out of the rehab in a week and a half. So it was really, really light. And then we rented it for February. The rent is $17.70. So we rented it for like quite a lot. If I go to the rental calculator in DealVault, DealVault says that we should rent it for $15.50. But since the previous flipper did all the bells and whistles, we were able to rent it for top dollars. So we rented it for $17.70. So it was just an awesome deal. So I think I might be able to show you that. Appraisal, lease. Okay, so this is the lease for the property. That's the property that I show you. Where is the rent amount? Oh, here, $17.75, guys. So we rented it for February 1st, $17.75. So this is just a home run deal, guys. We're making all of this technology, inventory, training available to all of you. Okay, so I want to make sure that all of you have access to Chicago Deal Vault and that you have access to this inventory. So if you don't have an entity created, let us know. When you have access to Deal Vault, we're going to give you access to pretty much all our team. These people have made us successful. In real estate, you cannot make it successfully on your own. You've got to leverage from the best qualified partners, which we're making available to you, okay? From lenders, inspectors, appraisers, attorneys, you name it. So if you don't have an entity, we'll make sure that we give you an attorney, an accountant who will be able to set that up for you. Or if you need a line of credit, Harmony Lenders, right here. So we give you resources for you to get those two pieces of information so that you can start making home run deals left and right, because we give you the information right in front of you. You don't need to go anywhere. It's all in one place, because we want to make sure that you're successful today, not tomorrow, not in 2 months, not in 3 months. We want to make sure that you have access to these incredible resources today. So there are a few questions on the line. I'm going to answer those. How do you buy from the bank? That's one question. Okay, so when we, let me see if I can pull it up. Here. Oh, remember this is the Cicero property. Let me pull that up. So I can show you how we buy it from the bank. So we just find, why is this not, okay. So you see, guys, we bought it for purchase price 135. Just a home run deal, which is exactly how much the bank took it for. And then if you go back, we're funding the deal. We're using a line of credit, which is huge. If I take you back to auction.com, it said cash only. Cash only, but because of our connections that we have, we can fund the deals. So this is the sales contract with auction.com directly. So it's a very long document. And then the bank was Wells Fargo. So we buy it, we make a sales contract directly from the seller, in this case, Wells Fargo. So this is the only way that you can buy properties from large banks through shadow inventory, which we have access to. And another question is, can any and all properties from the auction sites be pooled? Yeah, of course. So most of the properties go to auction.com, they go to hubzu.com, they go to Williams & Williams, Hudson & Marshall, and we can pull them from all of those places. So in fact, let me see if I have that up. No, there was another property that I looked up. So yeah, we can pull them from any of those sites, which is so powerful. Not only that, but we know how much the bank is going to sell it for. So before, when you go to these sites like auction.com, they're not going to give you the reserve. So let me go up. So for, I would say over 70, 80% of the times, they don't give you the reserve. Reserve is how much the bank is going to sell it for. So when people bid, the reserve needs to be met. If it's not met, they're not going to sell it. They're going to recycle back into the platform later at some point. But we know how much the bank is going to sell it for. So imagine we have a step ahead of the competition because we know whether the numbers are going to work. Of course I knew. I mean, this property didn't need much work based on what the previous owner did. I mean, all that you can think of perfect rehab, he did. I mean, just look at the crown molding. This type of work is for a flip. This is not a rehab for a rental, guys. I mean, all this molding work, it is very expensive, including the lighting, right? All of that. I mean, this is not a rental rehab. So imagine getting these for 135, you turn around and it's worth 235, and then just putting $12,000. That's a home run deal, guys. So you could do a flip, a rental, a wholesale, whatever you want to do, but obviously we're focusing on rentals because rentals is the way to accumulate wealth in real estate. Let me see if there are any other questions on the line. Do you subtract the loan balance from your offer amount? When you're buying directly from the bank, the balance goes away. Okay, like this is a perfect example. The owner owed 168, but we bought it for this much. So somebody took a loss. In this case, since the bank took possession of the property and the bank sold it to us for 135, who took the loss? The bank did. So their loss, our gain. Does that make sense? And then you get, one of the benefits is after when you buy directly from REOs is that you get clear title. So there are no encumbrances on the title. So you get a special warranty deed. Whereas when you buy at the judicial auction, right, where I told you, you should never buy, you don't get a special warranty deed. You might get a certificate sale, which is even of a lesser protection than a quitclaim deed. So you've got to be really careful when you buy here because you need to run like a title search, make sure there are no encumbrances, no clouds on the title, because you can buy pretty much something that has a lot of encumbrances, or somebody owns the property. So it's just way too risky, guys. Just don't go into this, even if you have the money, please. You need to leverage other people's money. So having said that, guys, I want to make sure that you're successful today. And this is what I have for you. If there are no further questions on the line, I'll just quickly summarize. Make sure that you intercept the property in the foreclosure process at the pre-foreclosure or upcoming auction. Never buy at the auction, and then you can buy from these websites through us to pull them from the back door. So whether people overbid at these auctioning platforms, it doesn't matter. We know how much the bank is going to sell it for, and we'll buy it directly from the bank. That is just an incredible power that we're giving it to you. Okay, so having said that, friends, I want to make sure that you're successful today. So I want to give you free access to Chicago Deal Vault for the next 30 days.